Well, Germany's stance to explain that they're not sending Leopard 2 tanks is that they need, in order to do so, to do that together with their allies, with NATO allies. And in doing so, you see the German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, not taking initiative there and using NATO allies, as a pretext not to take that decision, not to make that decision. And it is problematic from the Ukrainian point of view, because Olaf Scholz needs he doesn't only make the decision for Germany. He's also the one who has to approve the Leopard 2 tanks being sent by allied countries, because it's a German manufacturer, and de facto Germany has to give its approval not just to send their own tanks, but also for others to send those tanks.
What has been the reaction of those at the meeting?
Well, there's a lot of pressure. You've mentioned it. There's a lot of pressure on Germany to change its stance because, yesterday and today, President Zelensky at the meeting during his address this morning said how important it was for Ukrainians to have combat tanks on the ground. He stressed many times that they wouldn't be used on Russian territory because, of course, this is a worry of Olaf Scholz, as this would be seen, as Germany taking part of the war. But there is a necessity to have those tanks to defend the territory of Ukraine, and so really pressure is on towards Germany. And this is not just Ukraine, also the allied Finland, Estonia, Lithuania are pressing the chancellor. And even the US Defense Secretary said today that all eyes are on Germany, not just like Kiev is watching the world, and also the Kremlin is watching the reaction of Ukraine's allies in taking those decisions.
Do you think Germany can be convinced, and if so, by whom?
I think it can be convinced indeed. Chancellor Scholz said that he will consider that if US also sends those combat tanks. But the answer from Kiev was quite clear. President Zelensky said, well, this is not a game. There's no time for negotiation, and also no time to say, well, if you send this, I will send that. I think Germany can be convinced with the international pressure that it is currently under, but this is a matter of time for Ukrainians. And President Zelensky highlighted the fact that, while those negotiations are happening, people on the field are dying and Ukrainians are trying to survive.
And the issue is very divisive in Germany, according to a recent poll.
It is very divisive. There's a historical reason for it, given Germany's history and given the war Germany waged against the world during World War II. This has been a country that for decades has, demilitarized its army, has also, played peacemaker around the world, has built its whole identity towards the idea of global peace. And now all of that has been shattered. You have to remember that in January, in early February, Germany had pledged to send defensive helmets to Ukraine when there was the threat of that war of aggression. Germany has come a long way. Olaf Scholz talks about a Zeitenwende, a turning point in its history when it comes to weapon policy, when it comes to its own defense. He injected 100 billion euros in the army, in the project of modernization of the Bundeswehr. There has been a turning point, but so far this turning point has not affected, everybody's mind here in Germany. There's a lot of people whose psyche is still scarred by World War II, and who are still, even against all odds, when we see Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, pacifists. And for them, it reignites very, very painful memories of the war in Europe. And for that reason, we have a very, very divided opinion here in Germany.
Well, Chancellor Olaf Scholz has just recently appointed a new defence minister. What do we know about Boris Pistorius and where he stands on defence issues?
Yes, it's been a very interesting week here in Germany. You know, the Ramstein meeting was obviously the focus here today, because it's going to determine how many more heavy weapons the West is going to pledge to Ukraine, and it's going to determine what is the German position. And at this critical time, appointing a new defense minister, of course, you know, is something that the world is watching. Boris Pistorius used to be a regional minister. He seems to have a lot of goodwill. The Chancellor himself said that he was the man of the hour, that he had a big heart. However, you know, when he was appointed, he gave a first interview and he said, "Oh, since yesterday I've started reading all I could." And then he caught himself short and he was like, "Oh no, I meant, of course, I knew the situation before." And yesterday, on German television, he said, "Oh, well, I'm defense minister. I'm no military strategist." There's a strategist, and we have a war in Europe, and we have this defense minister who doesn't have, you know, 100 days to try his hand at the job. He has to deliver right now, and the world is watching, and Germany is watching its defense minister as well.
Not off to a good start, it seems. Meanwhile, what else is on the table at the Ramstein meeting?
Well, I think the focus is really heavy weapons being pledged to Ukraine. That is what, again, President Zelensky has asked for. Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov is also in Ramstein to ask for more weapons. We will probably see in a few hours, we probably hear defense ministers from around the world, as you highlighted, and NATO allies make a new pledge towards Ukraine. This is what is expected. The big unknown in that is whether or not Germany will, cede to international pressure and decide to send combat tanks, or at least to authorize its allies, especially European allies, to do so.
Emmanuelle Chaze, thank you so much for your analysis. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.